In the courtroom, please. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we're back to item number 25, which is to discuss the structural integrity and renovation of the courthouse and discuss fiscal responsibility of Commissioners Court. Mr. Eckler.
Good evening. Good evening, Commissioners and Judge. Thank y'all for having this nighttime meeting. I'm very impressed by it. Unfortunately, we had a tape. It was an interview about a week ago, what brought about the filing to come on by Judge Pavelli, who was a judge here for 8 years, and he talked about the structural integrity of the courthouse. He also talked about Fisher and Heck and his dealings with them. Well, the net of this tape, and I'm sure Clyde would be happy to play it again on Camel Radio at a time when people would listen to it. But the net, there were many structural problems with that courthouse. When he was judge, they took core samples of the courthouse and water going down there. And they also, when they built the courthouse, they had 4 layers of bricks, and then they would put a board across it. Well, they took those core samplings. They found out that the courthouse was rotting, I think what he said, beyond repair. And he believes that a good replica would be good, but trying to repair that courthouse is going to be almost impossible. Another thing that he did, he was working with the Historical Commission and trying to get a grant at the time for work on the courthouse. He contracted with Fisher and Heck, who is the architects that contracted to do the present one. And they told him it was going to take $2.5 million to do what he wanted to do and meet the guidelines of the Historical Commission. Well, he said, I'm not going to do that. We don't have the money. He did what he needed to do for $400,000. And when you get tied up with the Historical Commission and how they want things done, it's going to cost you a lot more than you can imagine. But the main thing he was talking about, the structural integrity of the courthouse, it was a very good interview. He'd been there a long time. He'd worked on it. He said it's not repairable. You're going too far if you do that. If anything, just replicate it, do something else. That's his words. And he said that working with Fisher and Heck and the Historical Commission would have cost 4 times more than what he could have done it for himself. And that's what I'm trying to bring about tonight, is different views and different options. I have nothing against the Historical Commission, even though they're going to be cut way back in the budget this year. Historical Society, and Commissioners, I hate to tell you, but you've kind of been nailed a little bit tonight. Most of these people are either Historical Society or supporters of them. And I think you're great. I mean, y'all got out there, you've worked, and there's things, you're passionate about what you are doing. But sometimes, passion in having 40 or 50 really strong people in a society that meets and comes in and lambasts you with things is not the voters of this community, not all of them. I'm going to go back to Fisher and Heck. As I told you, they did a study on this courthouse. They were paid $150,000 for their report and the plans. Well, who has to benefit from this? But Fisher and Heck to give a good report. I mean, I'm not going to accuse them of anything, but they also then turned around and got the bid to help with a $900,000 tear-off. And if it's their plans, who's going to get what they said would take to redo this courthouse? The exterior in 2007 was $8.2 million. And who's going to get the bid for that? Because it's their plans. So I think they could be a little bit biased. Now, if you'll also remember, the courthouse said it was going to cost $3.2 million when we first started. Well, it's over $6 million right now. And if it's $8.2 million just to do the exterior of the courthouse, what about the interior? What about the inflationary cost? Folks, it's going to cost $15 to $18 million to do that courthouse before it's over. Yes, it is. I've got it for you. What I'm trying to do, Commissioners, tonight, I wish I'd have had that tape. It would really behoove you to listen to it. I'm trying to show you a cloud of doubt on where we're headed down this road. Judge Kendall sat here with his court. And yes, Maggie Hunt, you're right. They did vote 3 or 4 times to do this with the courthouse. It was his commissioner's court. They led us down the road. Judge Kendall would not listen. When they first started the annex, there are many of us that's been here coming for 3 or 4 years. every meeting. I ran for county judge. Barbara, I'm glad you got it. when I too. Because I'm at the age I'm going to go off and stay in Red Oaks and ski and go on our vacation, but I thought we needed to change this. When I found out I thought we needed to change was when they first started to try to do the annex. We got out within 7 days and got 800 to 900 voter signatures against spending $5 million on that annex. Judge Kendall refused to let us talk to the court, refused to put me on the agenda, and refused to go for a call of action. They did exactly what they want. Today, we've got a new court. At least 3/5 of the court is new. We have two gentlemen I respect a lot. Tracy, I've known you ever since you were small. Oh, Tracy, you were never small. But I always knew you weren't the greatest at math. But if I wanted something done in agriculture, I'd ask Tracy to Schindler, he'd get it done. Pete, you've been out and respected contractor for many years. You know what it's about to try to make a living and try to pay your taxes. And even though there's parts of this county that are doing very well, there's parts that aren't. There are people around me that can't pay their taxes. And by the way, we have the 12th to 15th highest tax rate in the state of Texas. And that's disturbing to me. One of the first maxims you learn when you go to law school, you have to go to law school, is you learn about liability. And liability, being liable, is not doing what a reasonable, prudent person would do when presented with reasonable, prudent facts. And I think we're trying to present you with reasonable, prudent facts. Yes, you're liable for suit. You may not get sued. You may get sued individually. You may get sued as a court. Everybody's tired. I'm trying to go through it fairly fast. Oh, and people said that we didn't talk about this during election. Doug, you weren't coming to the debates and you weren't listening to us. We talked about the courthouse. We talked about the annex. We debated it over and over and over again. We talked about the budget. So yes, it has been talked about. Let's look at the Historical Commission right now. So far, you've only borrowed about $100,000. I don't like the way they operate. Last Wednesday when we were down here, your guy from the Historical Commission basically threatened to sue us. And I confronted him openly. I confronted him at the end. And he said, no, we probably wouldn't do that. Which I know you wouldn't be happy to get $600,000 back. The Historical Commission, by the Abilene Reporter, the Republican governor of Texas proposes to make a state budget shortfall as much as $27 billion by slashing the Texas Historical Commission operating budget by more than 1/2 for the next 2 years. So the paper. That would shrink their budget from $20 million to $7.3 million. Do you think every year they're going to come back and give Karnes County a $5 million grant? And I think Alfred Brevelic said it. The way he did it, $400,000, he saved over $2 million. There's ways that can be done this courthouse if we can get out of that easement and don't further entrench ourselves in this, that we can do it less expensive. We may decide we want to keep the wings on. We may decide we want to tear the wings off. But that would be our choice. It won't be the Historical Commission's choice.
Is this the same people made the decision on the annex? The same community that allowed that to happen?
We tried to stop it.
We did.
We did. 800 to 900 voter signatures we gathered in a week. I presented it to the court. I asked them to put it on the agenda. I asked my commissioner to put me on the agenda. You didn't do it. Okay. Okay, 750, 800. Lots of signatures. But I asked you to put me on the agenda. Did you put me on the agenda like I asked? No, you didn't. Anyway,
where does your $15 to $18 million cost come from?
Very easy. The architects say it's going to take, in 2007, their plan said it will take $8.2 million to do the exterior and bring it up to par. They said the annex would cost $3.2 million. We're at $6 million.
Well, the historical commission didn't say anything
What
about
is
the
this lady
annex.
right here saying?
That was another company, that was a company.
We're talking about Fisher.
One question.
Well, I'm talking about
It's
Fisher and
not-
Heck.
It's not starting.
When I'm talking about Fisher and Heck, the architects who drew up the plans, they projected the cost.
How long ago was that?
07.
07.
Think cost might have gone up?
What does this lady say?
Well, I got the floor right now. Let's go through this and then we can go from there. I know there's a lot of tired people, and I would just as soon go ahead and go. If we want to talk, we can go from there. If that's okay, Judge.
Go ahead. I think everybody agrees that we all want to
Now,
get the go.
but what I'm trying to do is that $600,000 that you're going to take from the Historical Commission is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to when you try to do this courthouse the way they want to do it and the way the citizens of Karnes County may want to do it. Granted, a lot of Historical Society people are here tonight you're very passionate about. I know that. But we've got 8,000 taxpayers out in that community. When you start telling them how much money you're going to spend on that courthouse, I think they're going to be passionate too. And you commissioners and judges have a fiduciary responsibility toward your constituents to do what's right. You were elected and brought in on a not tax and not spend basis. We don't even have a plan of what we're going to do with this courthouse. We don't have a projected plan of what it's going to cost, where we're going to be. All we think is we're going to get this grant, and we're going to tear the wings off. And then what are we going to do next? What you're going to do is implicate yourself further in contractual obligations with the Historical Commission to do it the way they want you to do it, the way you have to do it. Right now, you don't have to do anything but maintain the courthouse. That $600,000 is set. It's not going anywhere. I mean, you've still got it to use. It'll be there 6, 8 months, 10 months down the line. Let it sit there. When you're going to spend millions of dollars eventually, don't let one society come in here with 40 people and convince you. Think about the voters. Let them vote on it in a referendum, and then you know you're right. Or a bond election. The AG's office is not going to come down, the Attorney General's office is not going to come down and prosecute you over $100,000 if you turn the money back. Also, when I called and read documents in 2010, the maximum you could get from the historical, any county was $5 million. They're not going to have it at $7